Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Fandalorian Club Season 2 here on Apocaflix Movies. It is myself, Jake Berlin, and I am your host here for the Fandalorian Club as we get back into the swing of things of everything The Mandalorian. Most recently, on the Fandalorian Club, we did the Clone Wars, but we're back, and the Clone Wars is over, but we are here for Season 2 of Mandalorian, and we're going to be doing a full preview today of the show. Expectations, theories, thoughts, rumors, all that type of stuff. It'll be right here. And doing that with me, per usual, is the Fandalorian Club. I got Mr. Grand Admiral Cino right there to my right-hand side, and Mr. Obi-Wan Jacoby himself on the bottom. How you guys doing today on this Friday?
Hello there. How's it going? I'm pretty good.
This is the way.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. Do you guys remember when we ended the Fandalorian Club for the Fandalorian, not for Clone Wars? And we were like, man, can't wait until it comes back, and it's finally here. I'm so excited.
I love this show.
Yeah, we're gonna. It's pretty cool. Just a little preview for the show. If you have not joined the Fandalorian Club before, if you don't know about it, whatever it may be. First of all, thank you everyone for watching and joining us. But it airs every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific here on the channel. We watch the episodes on our own, and we get together to discuss them. We take about 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes they go quicker than that if we get our thoughts out. But it's much more of a shorter show, not a typical podcast, hour long or so. It can be if it's a big episode, but typically not. And so you can find it every Friday here for the next 9 weeks today and the 8 weeks that follow for each of the episodes. And then probably one after that for a whole recap if we don't do it on now during the week. So, yeah, super, super pumped. I mean, look, we're a week away, gentlemen. It's been a long time coming. The first season ended last year in December, and we are just almost about to wrap up October of the following year. And so let's just get right into thoughts and maybe a little bit of expectations, because that's the thing. What we can start with most is expectations of what we're going to see and what's going to be featured. Maybe what you expect personally more so than what everybody else is thinking. And then we'll dive into some other stuff after that. So why don't I start with you, Brian? What are you thinking for? What's your excitement level for Mando season 2?
I'm very excited, except I am not putting any hope or desire or any of that into Ahsoka showing up, Boba Fett. Like, I'm not gonna get excited about something and then to be let down. So honestly, I'm going into this thinking that none of them are going to be in it. Which, I mean, it sounds like some of them are going to be in it, but I'm not going into this thinking any of those people in it are in it. I'm going into this thinking that the only people are going to be the returning cast, and we'll go from there. That's 100% how I'm looking into this. Minus Timothy Oliphant, because he pretty much sounds like he's confirmed.
That's the first time I've heard you say that in all the time we've talked about this. And so it definitely caught me off guard because we've had so many conversations about characters and speculations about all these rumors and stuff like that. So I'm definitely taken off guard by that. I'll be honest.
Well, I mean, would I absolutely love to see these characters and that I've known and stuff? Absolutely. But I'm not going to hype it up only to be disappointed by it. So I'm just going to go into it assuming the same characters are back from what I've seen in the trailer. The only one that I'm pretty much 100% is going to be there is Timothy Oliphant, and as the new character. That's it, and Sasha Banks. Other than that, like, I'm not going to go into Ahsoka's going to be in it, and then maybe she's not there. Boba Fett's going to be in it. Maybe it's not even Boba Fett. Rex is going to be in it. Maybe it's not Rex. Like, I'm not going to get excited for something I don't know anything about. So I'm just going to let it play as it is, and we'll see.
We'll see what happens after the first episode if you change that tune. Mr. Something could happen in the first episode.
Okay, I will. Sorry. I will be a little bit disappointed if Katie Sackhoff isn't in it.
She's it's coming, Brian. I've said
I know. That's
I think I said this last season that she's coming. Like
to be honest, out of everyone that's rumored to be in it, I want her the most.
Yeah. Well, she fits the
over most. Ahsoka, even Boba Fett.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, I mean, for this show, that makes the most sense.
Jacob, what about you, man? Thoughts, excitement, expectations. What are you feeling?
Man, I can't put into words how excited I am, especially.
I'm sure you can.
Especially for this year, because look, if it was a normal year, then I would still be super excited, right? But we need this, man. Like we really need this because look, nothing's gonna make up for what everybody's been going through in 2020, but to end the year with this show is definitely gonna kind of help heal the wounds a little bit. So I'm just very, very, I'm like, I can't believe it because I'm just used to just bad stuff happening. So I'm like, yes, this is great. We're getting, because this could not be affected by anything. It was already shot before the pandemic started. We knew it was coming. They were just working on post-production stuff. So yeah, I'm over the moon. It's going to be very special just starting up that first episode again. And I love that it's week to week. That's amazing, especially for this show. Like this show wouldn't really be the same if it wasn't week to week. We would have to completely do it differently. And I think that's smart that Brian's going in, not trying to like set expectations for those other things. Because if you look at the trailers, they're presenting it as, look, Mando's continuing with this mission with the child. You have some of the same characters back. It's kind of, you would almost think, if you didn't know any of the trays or the stories, the news, the rumors, you would just think, okay, it's going to be very similar to season 1 with these characters, and he's just going to follow through with this mission, and we'll see what happens. But we know the castings and the rumors and all that stuff behind the scenes, so it's likely we're going to see some of that stuff. But I'm with Brian. I don't want to like hinge my excitement on those things, even though I'm looking forward to them. I'm focused more on the Mandalorian and his supporting cast.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that as well. Like, it's obviously it's hard to not think about like the Bo-Katans and the Sabines and the Ahsokas and the Rexes and the Boba Fetts and all those characters, but we do have to temper expectations because nothing has been confirmed. Nothing is official by any means. Whether, in the Star Wars world, confirmations and official word is definitely different than a lot of other things. But yeah, I think obviously I'm excited like everybody else is. The show was a hit last year. It was a massive success. We enjoyed the hell out of it. And I'm doing my rewatch right now, and so it's getting me excited and hyped up more so each week as it gets closer. Now it's less than a week away at this point, which is really, really cool. So I can't wait to discuss every episode. I can't wait to talk about the speculations and the theories and all that type of stuff that's going to be happening. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we do have a couple comments, though, that I want to get to before we move on, though. Thank you to everyone for joining us and hanging out with us. Joe, I know you're in the chat, man. Ahsoka is not confirmed. Ahsoka is not confirmed. Nobody is confirmed at this point. And yes, Pedro is coming back. He is the Mando. He'll never leave this role unless he's fired for doing something really, really stupid. So, which I don't see happening. And then Mr. Sean Sullivan, thank you for the super chat, sir. Hey, big fan. Do you think that the Mandalorian will show up in the season? Also, hi, Brian. I'm sorry I betrayed you last night. It was worth it. Yeah, the little betrayal is an inside thing going on with some Whiskey Squadron stuff. But yes, Sean, I do think that the Mandalorian will show up in the new season.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know about that.
Which Mandalorian are you talking about? That's the question. Because the Mandalorian does officially have a name now. So which Mando are you talking about? Okay, so let's just dive into a little bit here. What, Brian?
Traitor.
I told him earlier that you're never going to let him live it down. So
100%. And he decides that he wants to try to shave his beard a little bit. Just throw that out there.
Let's move into just what we've seen, and I want to get your guys' opinions because look, the trailers we've seen, they don't show too much at this point.
Good.
You know, it's yes, and that's a good thing. But I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on what we've seen so far. Like, what is the one thing from the trailers that has kind of caught your eye? You're like, I need to see that. Like, out of the footage that we've seen, we know is actually happening. What is that one aspect in these trailers that you're thinking to yourself, okay, that is something I really, really cannot wait to see in this season? Jacob, I'll go to you.
I just want to see him fly around on the jetpack just the whole time.
That's
when they're on land, just like they're walking and he's just flying in the jetpack the whole time. No, I definitely want more jetpack. The last episode of the first season when he uses the jetpack, I almost forgot how amazing that was. And it's cool that we see him using it because he went the whole season without one, right? Until the last episode. So, and that's so associated with the Mandalorians, right? So, and we're so familiar with it from the animated shows, and then also that was it episode 2 or 3 when the Mandalorians come and save him at the end of the episode? Episode 3, yeah, we see some jetpacks. So to see our guy, the Mandalorian, use the jetpack more, I'm super excited about that. And I mean, I guess that's just a materialistic thing, but
that's fair though.
Also, yeah, I just as far as characters and stuff go, I want to see him and the child interact more, and because it's so crazy, the child doesn't talk, and we don't see his face, so this relationship develops through like body language, and it's so weird. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it, where two characters, we don't get to hear one talk and we don't get to see one's face, and they're still like, you know, making us feel connected to them. So I'm looking forward to that more.
Brian, what about you?
I'm torn between two. I'm really curious to see what the X-Wings are doing with him. The only thing is I have a feeling that's just going to be like a little quick something just to like be like, hey, like there's some X-Wings. It's going to be like, okay, you're cleared for landing. And like, that's it. My other being, I'm really curious what Sasha Banks' character is. I don't think she's Ahsoka.
Or Sabine.
She's a completely new character, in my opinion, if I had to guess. I just really, the way they are talking in that scene, she just seems evil, and like she just kind of disappears. Like, I know I was saying like I'm trying to not get my hopes up for certain things, but for her, like I would really love to see her be like some like force magic type user again, like I said previously, like a Night Sisters type thing, because the way they're talking about the Force in that trailer and the Jedi and stuff, like it's not saying like the Sith or anything like that. It's talking about the Force in general. So do I think she'll be a Force wielder? Probably not. Am I hoping it? Yeah. So, to be honest, probably if I had to pick one thing, I'd be I'm most intrigued by her, and if what they were saying in that trailer actually kind of like adds up to her character. Hopefully, it's not like they're talking about the Force and she doesn't even know what the Force is, because then that's just like complete sham. But yeah, her character has intrigued me the most so far, just because she looks mysterious in that scene.
She definitely looks very interesting.
Yeah, she's like the most unknown thing that we've seen in the trailers.
Yep, very much so. Yeah. I would have aligned with Jacob as far as, and it's more so maybe not their relationship so much with Mando and the child, but I think seeing the personality and the growth of the child is something I'm very interested in. We've had this conversation before about how they age and what their maturity aging is like for that species. And so I'm wondering, like, first of all, what is the time gap between season 1 and season 2? Is it immediate? Is it maybe a few weeks, few months? What does that do to the child as far as aging? Because they age they age very different from what we do. But to kind of play counter on that, I am extremely interested, and I've been saying this from day one. You guys know how I feel about Mandalorians, Mandalorian lore, mythology, all that type of stuff. When he said, I need to find other Mandalorians to show me the way, I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. Like, that is something that I could watch an entire season on. Him finding other Mandos or finding clues to other Mandos or trying to figure out who his people were or anything like that. That gets me in for this show more than anything, because I think that's what this show is. I don't need, like, obviously I would love to see like the Force, and I can't wait to see the Darksaber back on screen up against these guys with Moff Gideon and stuff. But when I think of the Mandalorian, I think of, you had said it with episode 3, of all those Mandos, that clan. Like, that's what I think of, and I want to see more of that. And we're going to get more of that from what it seems like, from what the trailer was alluding to. And it hasn't been alluded in the trailer, but the Mandalorian Purge is the number one thing I'm looking forward to. And it hasn't been mentioned in the trailer, but we probably more than likely know that it is coming. So yeah, that's kind of where I align, and I hope that it's heavy on that in this season, because we're at a point now where, yes, the story is very much him protecting this child and getting the child back to his people, but I think we've gotten to a point where we can kind of expand on the Mandalorians, and people understand what the Mandalorians are enough to be like, okay, we trust you to let us do this and let the story go in this direction. And I really, really hope that they do that with this season. So if not, season 3 and beyond as well. So, okay. Let's get to some characters here real quick and break down some characters before we get to any kind of prediction that we may have for characters or story-wise or anything like that. They could be wild or normal. But let's talk about some of the supporting characters right now. We have 2 major supporting characters in Cara Dune and Greef Karga. Obviously returning from first season with oh my God, why am I forgetting both their names? Their actors' names.
Gina Carano
and Carl Weathers. Those are the names. Jesus. Could not remember their names.
That was a brain fart for you.
So let's start with Cara Dune. Cara Dune was not involved as much in season 1 as we expected to. She was in about 3 episodes, about 2.5 or so. She obviously came in at the back end and helped Mando, and she kind of became this team. She stayed with Greef Karga at the end, and we don't know what they're doing at this point. Jacob, I'm going to go back to you. Or, let's go to Brian on this one, because I started with you last time, Jacob. Where do you think Cara Dune as a character is going to go this season? Is she going to be doing some bounties? Is she going to just be Greef Karga's right-hand woman? Like, where do you see her in this season fitting in?
I think she's honestly, I think that she's going to be probably used the same amount as she was last season.
Do you think she'll be in more episodes?
I don't think so. Maybe 4.
So half the show or half the season.
I don't think she's going to be, and I think she'll be probably in the later half too. I think she'll be in it. I mean, to be honest, I assume those 2 will be in it equal amount of time.
Probably together whenever they're on screen.
Yeah. Are we full on predicting what we think?
Go for it. Yeah.
I think Carl Weathers dies at the end of the season. On some mission. But I don't see them being in more than half the season. Because at the end of the day, the story is always gonna be the Mandalorian and the child. If you have characters in there outside of maybe Moff Gideon who are in every episode, you kind of lose that. This show is very unique in the sense that it is making you know that it is revolving around the Mandalorian and the child. which the child wasn't even like, it was unspoken last time for a good portion of it. He wasn't even on screen yet. I think if you start making characters regulars outside of the Mandalorian and the child, you kind of lose that a little bit of the fact that the story is singularly them, the Mandalorian. So I honestly don't see those two being in more than half of the season. So, yeah.
Real quick, I'm sorry, Reef Ton. I'm really And then Sean here, yes, Mando's all the way, man, all the way.
Yeah.
And then Joe stepped in too. The Ugnaught doesn't get enough credit. We talked about Queel a lot last season. That guy was badass.
Last year we talked about Queel a lot. Jake wouldn't shut up.
I love that character.
And it's super sad because I just watched episode 7 yesterday where he died. Oh, yeah. Just a heartbreaker.
Hopefully everyone watching this has seen season 1. I would hope so.
I would hope
so. We're previewing season 2, which means we're gonna, get into it. So what about you, Jacob?
Real quick on the Ugnaught, other than the child and Mando, he was my favorite character last season, and it was sad to see him go.
Well, I mean, you had Mando, child in armor, and then Queel.
Well, I just really liked Queel. Like I don't know, he was so cool. So for Cara Dune specifically, it's hard because this show is very unpredictable, right? When going into it, we thought, oh, we're going to meet Cara Dune the first episode, and we got to episode 3, and we were like, where is she? Is she even going to be in the show? And then she shows up, and I believe, was she in 2 episodes or 3?
She was in episode 4, 7, and 8.
Okay, that's right. That makes sense because 7 and 8 were the most connected episodes.
7 and 8 were essentially one giant episode.
Exactly. And that's the thing. They treat each episode like its own story. Like they start something and they end it in that episode, but it also continues the whole story overall as well.
I will say, I think that changes this season.
Possibly.
I think that the story is officially now set on essentially one thing with the child now being revealed, going to...
Yeah.
I think that it'll change to where it's going to become much more like a television show, and they're going to lead more into one another.
That's very possible, but I also don't see why they would go away from that if it worked.
I say yes and no to you, Jake.
Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
I say yes and no to that. I almost think no.
Those are the only 2 choices.
No, it isn't.
I guess so.
Look
you could do like half the season that and
look at how Clone Wars was. It had a certain amount of episodes, let's say 10 episodes, and there was 3 and 3 and 4 or something like that. I could see the story consistently flowing, but broken into little sections, like maybe something along the lines of like, we're dealing with, I'm just going to use an example. First 3 is kind of like Boba Fett, to where it ends and then he continues going off to do something else, and then it works into rescuing Bo-Katan out of prison, and then that kind of goes, and then it ends with whatever, like that. Like it's a constant flow, but it kind of has these little story arcs,
peaks and valleys.
Yeah. I still think they're gonna do little story arcs each episode, because if we talk about like Ahsoka or something, right? I think she's gonna probably show up in one episode. There's gonna be a reason for it, and then it's gonna end in that episode. It might be the last episode or the second to last episode. But regarding so I don't know. Like, there's a possibility that he goes to Greef Karga and Cara Dune right away, and they're in the entire season, because that would make more sense if they are gonna just go through a full narrative throughout the whole season. Then that would make sense. But then if they're going to do it like last season, where little story each episode, then I could see them being in 2 or 3 episodes.
And Jacob, that's what you're saying too, right? Essentially, both of you.
Yeah, basically. And that's not what I want. That's just what I think they're going to do, because that's what they did last season. But I agree with you on the trailers. It makes it seem like there's the goal of the child and then the goal of finding more Mandalorians. They kind of go hand in hand almost, but yeah. So so who knows, man? It's very difficult because, like I said, this show's unpredictable. Like most shows, like when you were predicting like the next season of Arrow, you pretty much knew how it was going to go. This show you cannot predict because season 1 was unpredictable. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I tend to lean towards it being similar to the first season, but what I would really like it to go to like a classic television style. And
I would like that too.
I think it would work out really well, and maybe they're working towards that for a future season, and maybe they just have to, because there's a lot of things it has to do. They have the Moff Gideon stuff and they have the child stuff. That's 2 major storylines that you have to continue for this season, and pick up almost immediately. If you don't, people might be wondering, okay, like, well, when do we get into this? Are they separating it? Are they not included with one another? Like, what's the deal with that? So it's definitely going to be interesting how it's all going to be laid out and everything. Jacob, did you have any thoughts on Cara or Grief Karga?
Well, I think, like I said, I think they're going to play a pretty similar role to last season where they're in 2 or 3 episodes, but significant episodes, because he obviously goes to them for help. And other than the jetpack, my favorite shot might be when the door opens and they're 3 standing next to each other. Like, that's just badass. So I'm just excited to see them again. I love the dynamic, and like you said, Team Mando right there. So I'm excited to see them back. And Brian and Gio both predicted that Grief Karga is going to die, and that makes me think that that's like pretty obvious thing to do. So maybe they don't do it. And they kind of teased with that in last season where the Mando shot him, and in that moment you were like, maybe he's dead, and you're like, oh, the Mandalorian knew exactly where that metal was, and he hit the exact spot. So that's crazy.
All right, let's go ahead and get into this, because this could end up playing a big part in this, and I want your thoughts on this one. Chuck says, I sincerely hope we never see Baby Yoda's plum planet or more of its race. I want zero info on the species. This is something that George Lucas has kept close to the vest since the entirety of Star Wars being alive. Thoughts on possibly getting to this point and whether or not you want to see this? Jacob, I'll go right back to you.
So this actually ties into one of my theories. I don't
know.
Go
ahead and shoot for it then.
Okay. Because I mean, one of the big questions is, if Ahsoka does appear, what is her role? And we've talked about this. It makes so much sense that he gives the child to her and she takes it from there. And I think that makes a lot of sense because he's searching for these enemy sorcerers, right? It's heavily rumored that enemy sorcerers, they're not really, but to the Mandalorians, and they are. He's searching, and he needs to give the child to another Jedi or another Force user, basically. And that's what he's looking for. He's not looking for their race or their species. He's looking for Jedi or Force users. So, and we don't know if all of their species is Force users. That's still on the table for sure, because we've talked about that. The only 2 or 3 we know of have been Force users, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So I don't think we're gonna, episode 7 pulls up to this green planet and then we see 100 of those little Yoda creatures walking around. That would be kind of cool, but I don't see that happening. I see more of a situation where in that episode where he meets Ahsoka, and it's going to be so sad because I think that's when we say goodbye to the child, that he gives her to Ahsoka. And I don't know if we'll see it in the future or not, but either Ahsoka's going to take it on herself to get him home or to his species, or who knows? We don't really know where, because this is assuming after her and Sabine go and find Ezra.
Yes,
because
this is about 5 to 7 years after Return of the Jedi.
we're assuming this is after that, so we don't know what Ahsoka did after that, right? So maybe she takes the child on as her Padawan, and maybe we never see it, but maybe that's just the implication. So my theory is that the whole reason Ahsoka's there is to take the child, and it's implied like she drops a line, or we just assume that, maybe she says their world was destroyed years ago and those species don't exist anymore, and she's like, I'll take care of you, little guy, and then that's her last line, and showing the audience that, hey, she's gonna train this kid, because we already know he's very powerful. He stopped a whole fire explosion from coming in and shot it out, and he's in their years, the way they age, he's a baby still. So if she can train him, that'd be very cool.
It's something that I never thought about. What are the chances that the child is the last of his species?
It's possible.
It's something we've never really talked about on screen. We've always talked about well, okay, what if he's the son of Yoda, or what if he's just lost from his planet? But what if he is legitimately the last of his kind? And maybe that's why everyone are coming after him, because in the thought of his species does in fact, all of them are Force sensitive, and maybe that's why they're all
and maybe they're very powerful in the Force as
exactly.
well.
So and that would allow us to never see the home planets or learn anything about them like George Lucas wanted to happen, because you would obviously be keeping away from that. I do think I agree with you that at some point, and I never thought of it happening this season, but it very well could happen this season, that we will say goodbye to Baby Yoda at some point. It's hard to think about, because the show has been built so much on this lone wolf and the cub type storyline, right? Where it's this partnership, they've created this clan, but at some point, with everything else going on in the world around him, he's gonna have to say goodbye to the child at some point, because there's other things at large for himself and the Mandalorian people than just the child. And I think that's where the story might be headed, is and I don't know when it happens, but maybe it is in fact he gives the child to Ahsoka, and then the story transitions into him getting glory back for his people, and the Darksaber, and the Mandalorians coming to rise again and getting their planet back, and them becoming another prominent race and species in the galaxy. Maybe that's where the show is headed, but first they're going to have to wrap up the storyline with the child. And I never thought of it actually happening so soon. It could very well happen.
Well, I also wrote, and this is highly unlikely, but I wrote that it leads to a spin-off show with Ahsoka and the child, and that way, because I agree with somebody in the chat wrote that they won't get rid of I think it was Chuck, that they won't get rid of the baby.
Oh, there you go.
Because that makes a lot of sense, and that's a reason why you could see 5 seasons of The Mandalorian and with the child the whole time, because he's right, it is the moneymaker. But if you give him to Ahsoka, and then you still keep the child in the universe and front and center that way in a show, which people have speculated about a Ahsoka show as well, that I think that's the way you get the best of both worlds.
Brian, what are your thoughts, man?
To Chuck's first comment that he said, I agree. I hope we never find that out. I personally don't think that their race is around anymore. I think he's literally the last one. And that's why Moff Gideon wants him, because they know that they are a species that are born knowing the Force. Or at least have the ability. I shouldn't say born knowing it, because Baby Yoda still doesn't really know how to use it. You already have me as an enemy. You don't want Molly Damon. That's all I'm going to say. I'm kidding. Am I? But to Jacob, I don't think they get rid of the child this season. Maybe next season. I could see Ahsoka going off in trying to find that stuff without the child. Maybe him being like, I'll hold on to the child. You go find where it is. And then at some point, then maybe that exchange is made. Because I don't...
Maybe she already did, and that's why she's coming for him.
I don't think so. My whole thing is, I just don't see an Ahsoka child story like that. I
don't personally see that either, but
it doesn't appeal to me. Like, to me, for her, like, then that seems like she's just a babysitter at this point. Like, so
is the Mandalorian a babysitter?
Well, see, the Mandalorian, though, his story has now been protecting the child. So it's kind of a part of him as this character. Whereas Ahsoka, we've had all this history with her through the Clone Wars, all this crap that we still don't even know what she's been doing, where she's been. And now we're just going to make her a glorified babysitter kind of at the end, trying to find this place, which is almost kind of essentially what the Mandalorian is doing right now.
Well, if the child was a regular, like if the galaxy was normal and he was a regular child, you know, growing up in the Jedi Academy or whatever, somebody would be training him.
Yeah.
So
but
it's no different than that.
I honestly don't think he gets trained.
Probably not. I don't think so either, because the Jedi ways aren't.
I think he's just going. I just think he's going to. They're gonna. At the end of it, he's going to, on his own, figure out what's good and what's bad, what's acceptable, what's not. You can't just go around force choking people, like, you know.
Well, and that might be where Ahsoka comes into play slightly, as far as, because Din doesn't know about this. He doesn't know about the Force, and he obviously knows.
He doesn't know about the dark side or the light side.
Well, and he
look at how much violence he's exposing the child.
And he doesn't. He obviously knows like what's good and what's bad. Like when Tiny was force choking Cara, he obviously knew right away. Like no, like don't do that. But at some point, if he still does expose him to violence, and he has these abilities, and he still is a child, someone is going to have to teach him like what is acceptable for forcing and what is not as acceptable. And Din can't do that.
I disagree with you.
Because he doesn't. Well, I'm saying that because he doesn't know what the Force is. He has no idea what the Force is.
Yeah, exactly. So he can't show him.
Yeah,
how
but
to
at the end of the day, do you know the difference between what's right and what's wrong? If you were to go up to Jacob and choke him, do you know that it's right or do you know that it's wrong?
No, of course, but Din doesn't know. Din doesn't know about the Force abilities that are possible. That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, if you think of it like because the dark side tempts Force users, right? Like it's just something you can't touch. You just feel it, right? And how can he stop him from being corrupted by that? He can't really. Ahsoka or someone else who even doesn't even have to be like a Force user, like, you know, somebody who's very knowledgeable in the Force could tell him about it too. But it's just, and there's all those things that go into the Force that he's not going to be able to be taught about unless it's from a Force user or someone knowledgeable.
I think for him, it's just, for Din, it's just going to be a matter of teaching him what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. I mean,
I agree with that.
I don't think you need Ahsoka to teach him right from wrong.
Well, we're not going to see that this season anyway. Like,
I don't think we're going to see it. Period.
Well, the thing is, there's not enough time. There's only 8 episodes, right? Yeah. Or
I could
30 minutes. So
just saying, you know what's right and what's wrong. You teach him.
They're going to interact. The child and Ahsoka are going to interact this season. I guarantee that. If she shows up. if she shows up.
Well, that's
But Brian, do you think the baby's gone after this season, regardless of where? Interesting.
Okay, so Jacob had mentioned his prediction theory.
Maybe kidnapped, but I don't think he's gonna bye. This is the end we see of you.
Brian, did you have any kind of theory that you wanted to bring up for this season?
Timothy Oliphant's character.
I think we might have the same one, so go for it.
Just the whole Cobb Vanth theory. I honestly think that could be the most interesting thing out of the whole entire season. Just because if you've read the books and know that story, that would be dope to see on screen. Like the fact that here's this guy who was basically a slave and like all this crap, who got a hold of Boba Fett's armor and went from zero to this larger than life character off of essentially like almost a lie. And because in a way we know Mandalorians aren't born, they're made. So you could see kind of like maybe a bit of a conflict like between Din and that character, because I mean, he had a bad beginning, but what he's doing now with that though, is he like abusing his power? If that's the case, then
I tend to think that that's probably what's happening.
I do too. But
and you also have to keep in mind, like, do we think that Din knows who Boba Fett is? Has he heard who Boba Fett is? And so when he sees the armor, he goes, whoa, and then he finds out all this information. That's kind of where my head goes, because Boba Fett is so synonymous to Star Wars fans. Is he synonymous to the universe at this point in time? Because we know that he died a long time ago. He died over 5 years ago, technically, right? So well, we don't. He very well could have died. Like, we don't know. If he's back. Like, we don't know.
I 100% at this point think that the foot spurs sound noise is Cobb Vanth and not.
Yeah, I think so too. He's
wearing Boba Fett's armor, and we're gonna go, shit, it was Boba Fett, and then you're gonna go, oh, that's not Boba Fett,
and then we're gonna see Fennec Shand again and be happy.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, she'll be alive.
Jacob, what do you think about this Cobb Vanth Boba Fett stuff?
Do you know Cobb Vanth?
I'm not too familiar with that character, to be honest.
So Cobb Vanth was in the Aftermath books. And like Brian had said, he ended up with Boba Fett's armor, and he declared himself the sheriff of Freetown.
Oh, okay. I remember him now.
I did. And Timothy Oliphant was cast in the season, and all the rumors flying around that saying that they caught him essentially wearing Boba Fett's armor on set are dictating that maybe he is playing Cobb Vanth from Aftermath, and we're going to venture to Freetown. And that's kind of where we're picking up right now.
Okay, so do you guys remember where in the timeline that took place in the Aftermath books?
It was a few years after.
Aftermath took kind of place after. Very close.
Around this time.
The timeline would work.
That's very possible. And so Boba Fett's not confirmed either, right?
No, nobody is.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, all this stuff was rumors. And the thing is, people, like, if you ask the casual fan, like, who knows who Ahsoka is and everything, they assume Ahsoka's going to be in this for sure. And that's not the case. I think Cobb Vanth is very likely opposed to Boba Fett, to be honest. If it's not confirmed already, I don't think we're going to see Boba Fett. I think it's going to be something like that where we'll see somebody in his armor, but we'll find out that it's not him. And in that case, you could show his face, Timothy Oliphant's face and all that stuff, because it doesn't matter. It's not affecting the Boba Fett character at all. So I think that's probably more likely.
It's going to be interesting. That is for sure. So Brian, your theory was all about Cobb Vanth stuff. So you can, if you want to expand on that, go for it.
I cut you off. What'd you say?
No, I said it. You can expand on your Cobb Vanth thing. I don't know if you had anything else to say.
No, I'm just kind of curious. I really think that story could be awesome. I to be honest, if I had to choose one thing, I'm kind of hoping that's a major part of this season. Like, I think I would rather have that than Ahsoka. I would rather have that than. I don't know if I'd rather have that than Bo-Katan, but actually, to be honest, no. I think I might actually at this point. I think I would actually pick that over.
Bo-Katan's my number one, baby.
Bo-Katan.
6 months. Yeah, I was just looking that up, Sean. Thank you. It's in. They said in the wake of Return of the Jedi, so it's technically around the 6 month period. So he could be the sheriff of Freetown at this point for over 5 years, and nobody would know about this Boba Fett stuff.
Yeah, I think that would just be kind of a cool story.
Which book was that in? Was that in the first one or the second or third? I don't remember.
Ooh, that's
because there's so many random stuff that happens in each of those books that aren't even tied into the main story.
That series blends together for me.
It really does. But I'll say I really like the second and third one.
He first appeared in the first one.
Okay.
It was in the first one.
I think that would be cool, and maybe they go to that town.
Well, and remember in this chapter 5 of the first season,
I mean, it's on Tatooine.
They were on Mos Eisley and they rode their speeders for a very long time, and they could have been closer to Freetown than they were Mos Eisley.
Yeah, they did. There was like a montage of them.
Yeah, which is where the spurs come in, and who knows? I mean, it's. I definitely think that Brian's on the right track here. Of it that seems like something is for sure going to happen. I would like it to be more so than just one episode, but
I think it's more than one. I would say it's at least 2 or 3.
But that seems like a lot of time for something that doesn't go to the overall story of Moff Gideon and the child. That's why I say that.
Well, he's trying to find Mandalorians. Maybe at this point he thinks Din Djarin is Boba Fett,
maybe he heard of a Mandalorian in Freetown. Maybe that's what it came from.
A powerful Mandalorian that runs a town, only to find out he's a fraud that stole Boba Fett's armor.
It's very possible. Very possible.
I'm all for that. If that's the story,
like I said, I want Mandalorian everything. Just give me Mandalorian everything. I don't care less about anything else.
Yeah, but that's what I want. That's what I'm hoping for. Looking forward to. Yeah.
All right, let's shift gears because we do have about 10 minutes left. I want to just get into some things that we're excited for most. Like the first one I want to ask you guys is about all the rumored characters. So that includes Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, Rex, Sabine, Boba Fett. And I know that Brian might have just revealed his anyway. Who's the one that you really, really want to see and that you see fitting in the most in this season? Jacob, I'll go to you first.
That is tough. I mean, because overall, like in the Star Wars universe, I want to see Ahsoka live action, but she's not the person I want to see most on this show necessarily. And I don't want to take your guys's, but I mean, it's got to be Bo-Katan, right? It makes the most sense
Brian, if you weren't picking Cobb Vanth, you'd go Bo-Katan, right?
I mean, it has to be because
she fits
in. It makes sense. Katie Sackhoff, we saw her. Was she tweeting that she's did something
earlier this year?
Like,
I just did a dream come true thing or whatever.
And it makes the most sense. Like casting her and giving just dye her hair darker. Boom. You don't like. It doesn't even need. You don't have to do anything other than that because she has like dark brown or black hair, right?
She has red hair.
It's like
does she?
It's like reddish brown.
But it's not like bright red, right? It's like
no.
brown red.
I mean, you can always change that because
it doesn't matter. You could say Bo-Katan dyed her hair blonde, like whatever the case is. And it really doesn't matter, to be honest, what color her hair is. But it's not like she looks significantly different from the animated characters. What my point? So it's just
you would know who she is right away.
Yeah, that would be so. And I don't think we're gonna dive deep into the Darksaber and Moff Gideon this season. I think it's more about the main mission from the trailers. So
I think that'll be saved for the end.
I think she's going to show up 7 and 8. 7.
Yeah,
I think season 3 is about them getting the Darksaber back and taking on Moff Gideon.
Which is why I kind of got on board with the child essentially being put away for season 3, because it would make sense for him not to.
Yeah, and maybe he comes back, like Brian said.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, Bo-Katan's the thing that I'm looking forward to the most as far as the rumored characters. She fits in the most, not just because she's a Mando, not just because she was the leader of the Mando, but with the reveal of the Darksaber, she once held the Darksaber. She was heavily used in the Clone Wars. Most recently, and obviously with Dave Filoni involved, she's a very, very popular character in the fandom. And Katie Sackhoff obviously tweeted that thing out earlier this year. So all the puzzle pieces are there. The last one is just her literally showing up on screen. And so I think
they rescue her.
That would make sense. Maybe Moff Gideon is holding her captive.
I think somehow she got captured, and that's how he got the saber. Not because he beat her in combat or anything like that. The Empire probably attacked. Massive something happened at some point where it was more of like a cowardice way to get it.
Like she was injured or something. And
it wasn't like the Maul one where it was like hand to hand.
Who knows? Maybe he's a badass fighter and we haven't seen it yet.
I think at one point we're going to see the flashback of the Mandalorian purge, and I'm sticking with what I've been saying for a long time. I think go ahead.
This season, you think you're going to see it?
Yeah, I think we'll see a flashback.
I think so.
And I think that's going to show how Gideon got the saber, and I do think that it'll probably come down to him beating her, or I could very easily say him finding a cheap way out. But he doesn't seem like a character that got a cheap way out of winning. He doesn't really give me that vibe for a character. But I definitely could see the idea of her, instead of him killing her, he just holds her captured. Excuse me. Captive. Sorry. That would definitely make sense for her to be in prison.
Come on, English major.
I'm not English major. Oh, him.
No, him.
You're the teacher. You're the teacher.
He's on his way.
I'm teacher in training, Brian. Come on.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to, let's see, what do I have written down here?
Okay, let me ask this really quick while you were looking. Out of Tamora, I can't say his name. Someone just say
Tamura Morrison.
Yeah, I just can't say the first name. Him. So let's say out of Rex, Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, and Cobb Vanth, who do you think is a lock? Who would you say is a lock to show up?
Bo-Katan.
So the last question was who we want, and this one basically who we think.
Yeah, if you had to throw all your monies.
Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan?
Yeah, but I think Rex would be cool to see.
Rex would be a really cool nod.
I said,
Rex.
We all want to see Ahsoka eventually somewhere in live action, right? But for this show, I would rather see Rex just pop up and have Morrison play him.
There's ways that can happen because he's going.
That would be so cool.
Like he's flying against X-wings, and he can easily run into someone like that with interactions.
How cool would that? And obviously, Filoni loves Rex. Like that's
a live action version of the Rebels Rex, where he's got his own clone trooper armor on,
and like
fit him anymore.
He's the perfect age to play him now. Yeah, like it's not going to be weird, you know.
More
playing him.
I can't say that name.
Just say Morrison.
Morrison.
Or just say Django. We'll know what you're talking about.
We already know he's like a master of de-aging. So
Aquaman.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I tend to agree. I think Jake with you that Bo-Katan would probably be the lock.
She likely is. Yeah,
sense. It literally makes too much sense for it not to happen. Like, she was the last person to see holding the Darksaber. She was the last leader of the Mandalorian clan. There's no way it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know who might be, and did you even mention Sabine, Brian?
No.
Who might be second most likely is probably Sabine, to be honest.
The last time we saw Bo-Katan, Sabine was standing behind her.
And the thing is, like, this show is called The Mandalorian. It's about Mandalorians. They're two Mandalorian characters. So I think like that to me, Sabine fits more than Rex does, more than Ahsoka does in this show.
Yeah.
But
That's
no,
fair.
Bo-Katan for sure is most likely.
The only reason why I would not say Sabine is because for me, and it all changes because of the timeline, obviously, but she is so closely tied to Ahsoka because of the way that Rebels ended.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't see them going anywhere without each other
without
now.
each other. Yeah.
And so I feel like if Sabine shows up, Ahsoka shows up, vice versa.
We talked about how the whole reason Ahsoka even is connected to this is because of Sabine. So that's probably possible too.
Exactly.
Fair.
Oh, it's gonna be absolutely crazy.
Well, and Ahsoka has her history with the Mandalorians. Obviously, she's very close with them.
Yeah, she's so tied to them.
Yeah.
Is there? I want to ask one last question before we get out of here. Is there one thing that you do not want to see? Whether it's like something like not like Yoda's planet not showing up or something like that. Something that you absolutely do not care to see in the show going forward. Like maybe for me, I personally don't want to see like the Jedi show up. Like I don't want to see the Jedi show up. I don't think they need to show up. One, because there's not many of them. Some other people talk about how they don't want to see any characters we know about, like from the OT trilogy or anything, show up. Is there anything that you do not want to see happen in the season and maybe even the show going forward?
Low key, Ahsoka.
You don't want to see her at all?
Low key, kind of don't.
Change your tone a little bit. I've never heard you say that again.
The more I'm getting closer to it, the kind of like more I don't want her in this. Like, I almost kind of just want like just Mandalorians and normal people type things, if you will. Like, I don't know. And honestly, I'm a little terrified to see her in live action because she's just so good. She's so good as a kick Sean Sullivan out of here.
No, I'm gonna mute you because I'm with Sean.
So
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So I'm done.
No, stop it. Come on.
I don't know. I'm just apprehensive because like she's so perfect in animation. Like absolutely perfect. I think I'm just more afraid that like that amazing.
You're coming from more fear.
Probably. I'm just more afraid that amazingness of Ahsoka is gonna get somehow lost in live action.
That's fair.
So yeah, I just because she's just
they're not gonna mess her up.
I know.
If there is one thing that they do, they're not gonna mess up Ahsoka Tano.
I know. It's just I'm just afraid, like she's just absolutely perfect in animation. Like, and this is coming from someone that when they first announced the Clone Wars, I remember avidly being like, Anakin Skywalker never had a Padawan. This is stupid, blah, 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 blah. To now I'm saying like, she's perfect. So it's like, I'm just apprehensive. I don't think that she will be like done wrong. Like Filoni's not going to like go and change her character.
Well, that's the thing. If Filoni wasn't behind this, I would agree with you, Brian. But
I honestly could
he's going to be so protective of that.
100%. I could honestly see him even going to the point where of like they started shooting it, and if he didn't like it, being like,
yeah, I see that.
He would do that for sure.
So
it's probably a scene or a moment where they could easily cut it and work around it.
Yeah. So I'm cautious. I'll say that. I'm very cautious of that. Probably more than anything. Like,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the other characters we named and stuff. Well, hello, I'm a dark side user. What do you expect? And I'm gonna put this here while I finish talking. But yeah, I would just say that that is probably the thing I'm most apprehensive about.
That is fair. Jacob, what about you?
Well, real quick on Brian's thoughts, I think it actually makes sense for Ahsoka because casual Star Wars fans don't know who she is. They don't.
That's true, because like I could say to my sister who's seen all the movies,
exactly,
and never done that, I'd be like, "Yeah, Ahsoka's going to show up." She'll be like, "Cool." I'm like,
my dad,
know who Ahsoka is, and she's like,
my
no.
dad grew up on the Star Wars movies, and and watched the prequels and all that stuff in the new movies. He has no idea who Ahsoka is. So people who, and the Mandalorian is very popular. So bringing her into that show is going to ignite a huge interest in the character. It's going to make people go back and watch Clone Wars and Rebels. But for me, now I'm thinking about it, I don't want to see Boba Fett, to be honest. And I love the Boba Fett character from the original trilogy, but I think it's unnecessary.
Do the finish, Jacob.
And just like Ahsoka, right? It's not an insult on the character at all.
I wasn't even saying anything. I was just pointing.
It's like,
you muted me.
It's like, why? Just because. And
no, there's gonna be a reason. Come on, they're gonna battle it out.
No, but I just kind of like how
he's a bad dude.
Like how the thing is with Boba Fett, he's not even a Mandalorian. He stole the armor.
Neither is Din.
No, I'm saying but Din was brought in by the Mandalorians and made a Mandalorian. Boba Fett was not. He just stole the armor and took it. So he's not even a true Mandalorian. He doesn't follow the code. He doesn't follow this is the way. I just think it's unnecessary, and I think
this is the way is Queel.
Yeah, that's what?
Oh, excuse me. I don't know.
What? Well, you know what I mean. But different Mandalorian clans follow different codes and have different things going on, right? So he's not tied to the Mandalorians other than the armor at all. So to me, it doesn't make sense unless he shows up and they're like, oh, this guy is an enemy of ours because he took our armor and is roaming around the galaxy.
Yeah, maybe it's like a fraudulent thing.
It would be, I would think. So I just don't think it's necessary, to be honest. I wouldn't mind seeing, just like Ahsoka, I wouldn't mind seeing Boba Fett again in the universe somewhere, because I would love to think that that's not how his story ended. But I just don't think it's necessary for this season necessarily.
Let me ask you this, and Sean, you can weigh in on this too. How would you feel if we see Boba and he is like Luke, where it's like, I've left all that behind, I don't care anymore, whatever. And Din's like, no, we need to get your armor back, you're a symbol, whatever. And he helps get the armor back from Cobb Vanth. And then maybe Boba Fett in turn becomes this not good guy, but maybe he takes over Freetown. Does that make sense? How I'm kind of pulling that. It's a little bit too much of a long story, but I'm in the vein of Boba Fett's not kind of the same Boba Fett.
I don't think he'll be the same, because if he is in fact back, that means he's been waiting around for years on Tatooine and has yet to get his armor back. And that already says enough about what he's like as a character, because the Boba Fett we know would have gotten his armor back in a heartbeat. And so if that does happen, then the path to your story, Brian, is already being planted, because he has been waiting around for years and has yet to grab that armor, and someone else has been rocking it. I don't know. It's interesting. It's just, and what Shannon said is about, I need resolution on that. I agree. If they are going to bring Boba Fett back in some capacity, I just need the story to be finished in whatever way it is, because we've been hearing for years on where Boba Fett is. Is he alive? He isn't alive. He's not. He is alive. I want it to be done. If he is alive, he's doing this. He's bountying, or he's living like a hermit somewhere. Then cool. If he's doing bad things and Mando's going to go after him, cool. If he's dead, cool. I want the story to be over. That way we know as Star Wars fans. I would love to see him back, because Boba Fett's one of my favorites. I love the character. I think he's a badass. But I also understand if they don't use him because the story's about Din and not Boba Fett. So
I just could see Din helping Boba, and that in turn keeps kind of a little bit away from the like, oh, this is Boba Fett. Now it's Boba Fett overpowering the Mandalorian type story, you know? Because if you come out Boba Fett, guns blazing, all this type of crap, you're gonna be like, give me him.
Yeah.
But if you kind of show Boba Fett as this like weak hermit, whatever you want to do, you're gonna be like.
I mean, it's not that long after Return of the Jedi though, where he was still
kicking ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe he's all scarred up and everything from the Sarlacc.
Oh, he might be destroyed from the Sarlacc pit.
It's going to be awesome looking.
He's going to be
awesome looking. All right, gentlemen. Well, before we wrap it up, any final thoughts on previewing season 2? What you expecting, like that excitement before we get out of here?
A week
away.
I'm game for staying up till midnight and watching them when they drop at midnight. Just saying.
Disney does have that watch party thing now. We could do that. We'll have to think about that for the next week or so. But until then, guys, everyone watching, hanging out with us for the past hour, thank you so much for joining us and joining in on the chaos as we predict and throw some wild things out there up against the wall. If you want to do that every week, you can. The Fandalorian Club is every Friday at 4 p.m. right here on the channel. For now on, what?
I said we're back.
Yes, Mandalorian Club is back. If you are interested, just check us out there every Friday. For now on, we're just going to be reviewing the episodes and talking about what happened. And so next Friday, a week from now, we will be reviewing Chapter 9 for Mandalorian Season 2, which is going to be awesome. So make sure you guys are following us everywhere on social media, here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. The podcast also lives up on audio, so Anchor, Apple, Spotify, Google, Breaker, Stitcher, all that good stuff. You can find all the links down below in the description. So for Grand Admiral Sino, for Obi-Wan Jacoby, I am Qui-Gon Jake. This is the Fandalorian Club. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys next week.